Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Nikki, and today I'm going to be discussing some of my all-time favorite Starseed films. Now, this is something that is, my own personal quirky take on some of the more popular Hollywood films and TV shows that are out there. And of course, there are hundreds of examples, but I'm going to try to keep this limited to no more than a dozen or so, because this is something that I feel has been reflected in some of our really great films, films that often seem to be ahead of their time, yet they arrived just right on time. Let's start with Valerian. Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. Now, this is loosely based on the Galactic Federation and multicultural star civilizations. There are just state-of-the-art visuals, first of all. It's just eye candy, okay? I'm a huge Luc Besson fan, I'm telling you. He also did The Fifth Element, which is another all-time fave of mine, which is based on Sirius and ancient Egypt and the divine feminine elemental consciousness. It was absolutely brilliant, portrayed by Mila Jovovich. She just absolutely, it's just iconic, okay? Not to mention the entire cast, okay? You had Bruce Willis, you had just Chris Tucker. I mean, it was hilarious, okay? And this is something where I really think was probably the first film that kind of took me on or turned me on to this sort of genre. Now, all of this falls under sci-fi, but I think that what made this stand out the most is the spiritual side of it. There's a lot of spirituality hidden in the film, aside from all of the, crazy adventures and futuristic scenes. Gary Oldman is phenomenal in this as the villain, but I'm just thinking overall, this film really had something special. There were just a lot of surprising people that popped up in this film. And I think that is very much a reflection of the universe. You never know who you're going to see. And all of these archetypes that pop up, they're not by accident. They are all reflections of, each other character, right? We are all reflections of each other. And I just love that strong similarity there between Valerian and The Fifth Element. Another great Luc Besson film is Lucy. Lucy is all about consciousness evolution and higher dimensional awareness. And it is really a crazy story, but it taps into AI ultimately. And it really leaves it up to the viewer to decide, what happens at the end after she pretty much transcends. And for those who have not seen these films, I do not want to spoil them for you, but definitely check this out. Lucy stars Scarlett Johansson, and she is just really, I think it's probably one of her best roles ever. Okay. And she's done a lot of amazing work. She's done Under the Skin and other works that really keep you guessing. This one really stood out because of the strength that she portrayed, and it's just surprisingly heroic, transformation, her awakening. I mean, it's like, there's nothing like it, So those are the top three. There's also, of course, the Matrix trilogy, which is all about the archons and waking up to the false reality, or just spiritual awakenings altogether. I really felt that the Matrix was based on Sirius. It reminds me of the Sirius mystery schools because I think of some of my spirit guides, and they are all dressed in these martial arts G's or robes. Basically, they look like ascended master beings. They all have shaved heads, and it just reminds me of the simulation room where there's nothing out there. It's just the void, right? This whole white room of consciousness, right? Where you can pull anything, you can download anything into your consciousness, right? And go beyond your limits. And that's really very close to the way it truly is. A lot of people joke about The Matrix. It is definitely more like of a documentary than just a film trilogy. And I know there's an entire series surrounding it. I know they did a fourth. I know they did other, animatrix type of films, but I'm telling you, something about that trilogy is timeless, and I never get tired of it. Cloud Atlas is another excellent one. Cloud Atlas by the same creators of The Matrix. It's all about soul groups, reincarnation, karmic evolution. That one was starring, I believe, Tom Hanks and Halle Berry. There's a lot of familiar faces in that as well, but it really takes you out of your comfort zone, and you really don't know what's going on until, you see all the similarities play out and you realize, well, this is definitely what it is like to have a soul tribe, to have your twin flame lifetime after lifetime, and the reason why we're drawn to certain people more than others, the reason why we're called to certain roles above all others. Okay, so you might want to check that out. One of my all-time favorite campy stories is called What Lies Below, not to be confused with What Lies Beneath. What Lies Below is really about this rather handsome guy who is more than meets the eye. Okay. It does touch on, I would say, serious B amphibian humanoids, the lore of aquatic ETs. Okay. That one in itself is, I believe it's rated R, just so but it's rather dark and mysterious and very on the nose in terms of humanity and its role in not just human evolution but alien hybridized groups. Okay, and that one will also keep you guessing because it's a rather mysterious ending. Okay, and so if you haven't seen these films, you can definitely check out other people who have done spoiler videos, okay, on YouTube. But yeah, I definitely recommend it just for the ride, especially if you like films that keep you guessing at the end, okay? And so that is probably going to be a cult classic. I don't think too many people know about that one, but yeah, that's What Lies Below. There's also the Dune series, okay? The Dune is really, I think, based on Mars and Maldek at some point. I'm thinking about there's so much desert mysticism and prophecies and ancient bloodlines associated with this. It is based on Frank Herbert's books that are more broad than Mars, but that's what comes to mind when I think of the spices and all the things that are in the story. Okay, what sticks out really are the Bene Gesserit, this dark sisterhood, which kind of reminds me of Order of the Black Rose, which I've written about. But I just found it so amazing. And definitely check out the remakes. They are good. They are really good. They have their moments, but if you get a chance, check out the original as well. I think it will surprise you for those who haven't seen the original Dune. All right. Star Wars, of course, is another favorite, which is based on the Orion Wars. This is about galactic war and spiritual initiates. All right. So when I say Star Wars, I'm talking about the original trilogy. Okay. I'm talking about, the very first 3 films in the series. Okay. Which includes, Return of the Jedi, okay, and before that, what was that? Empire Strikes Back, okay. Thinking about the original Star Wars, right? And don't kick me with the titles. It's been a while since I've seen it, but something amazing took off with that series, and other filmmakers have tried to replicate it, but no one has really been able to touch it, okay, on that level. The Last Starfighter comes to mind as well. That's a cult classic, and that definitely reminds me of, I think that was based on Alpha Centauri. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's another fun one. Star Trek, the entire Star Trek series, but especially the original Star Trek, okay, it's all about the Galactic Federation. It's all about peaceful exploration and interstellar diplomacy, okay? These things were considered ahead of their time, but this is not ahead of its time at all. It's just something that they like to take their time with introducing into the timeline. And there were a lot of insiders involved with this. Gene Roddenberry even alluded to this. He was like, there's a lot of inside information here that is based in fact. And so make of that what you will. I know as a child, The Terminator was huge for me. I really enjoyed The Terminator, which is about AI domination and the Orion Wars and the Archon-like control mechanisms that we are seeing today. Again, it seemed ahead of its time at the time, but no, it's actually it's actually like right on time. And these are very controversial subjects to this day, especially when we are going to be seeing more in the news about AI and robotics and transhumanism. I mean, there's so many issues of ethics here that I think that is going to be something where we're going to see more about this in times to come. I'm thinking of John Connor, especially, okay, who is the child of Sarah Connor, okay, who the Terminator goes back to take out. But I'm thinking of John Connor as a starseed. He's here to, kind of awaken humanity, to let them know that they can rise up against the machines. He's there to make sure they understand all about human sovereignty. I mean, there's so many layers, okay, to that storyline, that whole series is, it's timeless. It's absolutely timeless. There was another film. I'm thinking of Dune, the actor in Dune, the original Dune, Kyle MacLachlan, I believe, was in another film called The Hidden. Okay, that comes to mind. That came out way back, like in the 80s, right? But yeah, that's another really good one. It's about body possession and parasitic entities and, aliens, all about aliens, kind of. But you don't hear too much about The Hidden. And I don't know why that is. It's like it should have done better than it did, but it's one of those things. I don't know if it was straight to cable or not, but that just popped in when I was thinking of Dune earlier. And Kyle MacLachlan, who's been in a lot of great stuff, especially like Twin Peaks and other films where you have to look for the Easter eggs to figure out like how to decode the whole story. But anyway, that's for someone. Communion comes to mind. Communion is based on the true story of the experiencer, okay, about gray encounters and, abductions. I think it was probably one of the standard, gray encounters. Okay. You started hearing all about gray encounters after that film came out. But yeah, that in itself, to this day, it's probably one of the creepiest stories. It is so real. You have to believe, this story. It's just, there's nothing like it. Okay. There's nothing like it. Jupiter Ascending. Oh my God. That was such a fun film. That is also by the creators of The Matrix. Okay. Which is about royal galactic bloodlines and genetic inheritances, cosmic dynasties. You hear all about this in Starseed lore. And I just love this film because it's like just an everyday person. This is played by Mila Kunis. I hope I'm saying her name right. She is just this everyday working class girl who ends up in this very bizarre situation where she finds out she's actually galactic royalty. And I'll leave it there. But it's not what you do, it's who you are, right? She has a hard time believing this, but as she has further awakenings and initiations, she begins to remember things, okay? And so this is a lot what it's like for starseeds. They have these awakening initiations, right? And so that is probably one of the more standout type of starseed films, you know. Everything Everywhere all at Once. That was another wild ride. That was with Michelle Yeoh, which explores infinite timelines and our multidimensional selves. Okay. She gets sucked into this chaotic, multiversal adventure. Okay, it's very hard to like put this all in one category, but yeah, it's a rather creative way of exploring our various personas. When we sleep at night, we are still working. We're in other dimensions, you know. When we are, you know, between lifetimes, we're in other dimensions. And especially now, we're living parallel lives in other dimensions. I've had dreams where I'm other people, okay? And then things start to stick out. And then I remember, no, that's not the right timeline. And I wake up back on Earth in this timeline. And I'm like, am I remembering this, or is this happening in real time in a parallel life? Well, all of that is very much possible. And you can tune into this. You can tap into this. But yeah, that is very much a thing. It's very Doctor Strange. In fact, Doctor Strange is another really good example about higher dimensions and astral travel and consciousness expansion. I really like that because it's really a really great way for those who are, you know, Marvel fans. They are tapping into the multiverse, okay? And so check out the Doctor Strange series, all right, where he is traveling through portals. He's you know, learning things. Again, there's this kind of ascended master presence that you've seen like with the Jedi Council, you've seen with other films like The Matrix, where there's always this awakened being that takes the protagonist on this journey, okay? And then they have to face their own initiations from there. But I'm seeing this theme replayed in these types of films, right? It's not an accident. And you pick up on these things. And yeah, everyone is going to interpret things differently. But I love the fact that every time I see these films, I notice something else, or I'm seeing it from a different perspective based on my own personal initiations. They just take on deeper meaning. And those make the best stories. Those make the best films, you know, going back and seeing the world the way it was portrayed back in the 80s, 90s, and all these films, and then going back and seeing it now from the 21st century perspective, really, you know, it locks it in, you know. I'm thinking of Divergent. The Divergent series is really good. Which is about human evolution and awakening and breaking societal programming. Divergent, I really felt kind of like alludes to that RH negative factor that so many starseeds have when they have tapped into these abilities that no one else really seems to have. And they are just natural leaders, and they are daring, and they were, you know, very much some of the most fiercest of warrior archetypes, right? They have that that overabundant passion to experience life in all its realms and all its, you know, they do not play it safe. They do not play it small. They're very defiant about, you know, the rules, okay? And they're not all like, you know, rule breakers, but it does have that pioneering spirit, okay? And so I just love the Divergent series. That was so fun. I'm trying to think of anyway, check out the Divergent trilogy. Um, Moving on to, I do want to touch on some TV shows, primarily, yeah, House of the Dragon is huge. That is very much, in my opinion, it's reflective of the Draco and reptilian lineages that we're seeing today. It's based on the Anunnaki type of inspired myths out there. Okay, and I do know it's probably based on the war between England and France, probably the Hundred Years' War. But I am, that's what I think of when I see this. Okay, it's very much. I believe the prequel to Game of Thrones, right, where they have all the houses and the dragons and the prophecies and the bloodline inheritances, and it's very much like this conquest, this no matter what world. There's always, you throw in a dragon and you're pretty much going to be the one who wins that battle, right? So I just love that. And it's like, for those who are dragon lovers, there's a reason for that. You may have dragon guardians, or somewhere in your lineage, there's perhaps a reptilian influence. And not all reptilians are bad. I do want to point that out. But that is something that I think it explores, especially with this obsession of royal bloodlines. Okay, that Anunnaki, blood type is considered the royal bloodline, right? Rh negative bloodlines. So I think that's why House of Dragon is so popular. Game of Thrones, it's so popular. Not only is it, just amazing in terms of the action films and the crazy plot twists, but there's a lot there, with the Mother of Dragons. Okay. People of Earth is also another one that comes to mind, which is a comedy. It got canceled after 2 seasons, but you pretty much can get the point of this. It's just a sitcom on alien encounters. There's multiple extraterrestrial groups featured in the show, like the Greys, the Reptilians. It's very humorous. It's a comedic take on UFO lore. Okay, and it does it in a way without making fun of people who are experiencers. It is like a very comedic take on it, but it does like really give it a real campy, way of taking on these topics and making them more mainstream, which I think they were trying to achieve until they got canceled, probably by the reptilians. Anyway, you'll know if you've seen the show. If you know, you know. But with that said, there's also the more mainstream Starseed films like Arrival, which is about higher dimensional communication. There's Contact. Oh my God, Jodie Foster is amazing in that. It's about first contact and cosmic perspective. There's Interstellar, starring Matthew McConaughey, which is about love and time and higher dimensional beings. Okay, there's Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which is all about, contact and calling. There's Avatar, the Avatar series, which is about planetary consciousness and interconnection. There's Starman, who's, just this benevolent extraterrestrial visitor. Mission to Mars, which is about ancient Martian ancestry. Prometheus, which is about these creator beings and humanity's origins. God, I can't believe I left out Ridley Scott. Oh my God. I was a huge Aliens fan, okay? I hadn't even seen the original Alien, okay? I just grew up. I was around 10 when Aliens came out, and I would just watch it on repeat. I just love that film. It's like the mother of all alien films, right? And it is based on, I would say, God, where did they... Okay, I'm going to kick myself. I think it's based on Zeta Reticuli, if I'm not I have to Google this. I should have, anyway. So it is based on an actual area, and in the lore, okay, of these dangerous aliens out there, I do know Zeta Reticuli, you do not F with that zone. And there's another one I can't even think of. I think it's like, oh God, Eridani, or something like that. Anyway, I have to look these up. Epsilon Eridani. I don't know. So there really are these like do not fly zones, okay, out there in terms of people who, have done their research. But yeah, and I believed this as a kid. I was like, oh my God, we cannot go back into space ever, because it was like, you just didn't know. You didn't know. And acid for blood and all these things. And I'm like, what? Where are they getting this from? Right. So yeah, that is just one of those things. That was not on the Starseed list, you guys. I'm just putting that out there. Of course, Alien versus Predator, anything alien. I mean, Predator. Oh God. Forget about it, 10 out of 10. Okay, Predator. But getting away from the alien themes and back into the Starseed lore here, there are just, again, these are just my own interpretations, you guys. These are my own hypotheses, my own take on these films. And there's so many fun films out there. And I really hope that, they continue to make more films like this or in this direction, because what it does is it really expands consciousness in a fun way. And that is the point. That is the point of all creativity. Yes, I know there's X-Files. Yes, I know there's like a million other shows and films out there that, definitely hint at this. But I feel like we as a culture have to decide what we want to consume. Okay. So it's really up to us. We can't keep complaining about films if they miss the mark. We have to go out there and we have to write them ourselves. We have to film them ourselves. We have to do this ourselves. So whoever is listening, you are being called in this moment. I don't care if you are a writer, an actor, a director, a singer, whatever it is your turn to really come out here and be a advocate or spokesperson for the community, for the collective. Okay. We have to remember it is our story too. And this is why I write books. I was, inspired by this lore, and a lot of my intuitive gifts were there. And as we are all developing our own intuitive gifts and creative gifts, we have to share them with the world. That is why we're here. So enough about that. I hope you guys get to enjoy some of these films, and definitely let me know your thoughts in the link below. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll have more for you soon. Happy journeying.